And here we are, the first episode of 2023. Kris and Rob back with the Low Sodium Podcast. Say what's up, Rob.
Hey, what's up, guys? We got a couple of topics today, and I'm really excited to cover as many of them as possible. But starting off, I really want to ask Kris, now that he is done with God of War, how was your experience?
I think it was a great game, man. So I'm out here in Qatar. I was able to pick up a PS5 finally. Apparently, they're in surplus here. So everybody back in the States that can't get one, they're all over here.
Oh wow.
So I got the bundle, right? And was able to play it day one. The first day I bought the PS5. And the game is great. PS5 is impressive. The game itself looks amazing. Story's amazing. While I won't say I was completely surprised by the story, I definitely appreciated what they did with the characters. There's some deep, well developed character growth for each and every one of the characters that are in the game. I mean, everybody from Kratos to Sindri to, hell, Brock got a lot of character development, which I did not see coming, right? So it was a good experience. All in all, it was a really good experience. It was one of those things where, because I don't go to work till 12 in the morning. So I would stay up, 12 in the afternoon. I would stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning playing the game. Go to, wake up at 10, go to work, wake up at 11, go to work, come back and play
roll
out of bed, go to work. And then as soon as I got back in, I was hopping right back in it. For a little bit, I was going to try 100% it, but I'm still not that guy. So I'm not going to 100% it, but it's I can definitely see why people do. Everything from
it's funny that.
Go ahead.
No. It's funny that you say that because I know you. We've done this podcast now for a little bit under a year, and you're not 100%er. You finish the game and you move on, and it's because of time. But the fact that you felt for a little bit compelled that you wanted to do 100% just shows a lot of the quality of the game. But you were saying,
it's. There are things that you won't experience in the game unless you're trying to 100%. Small conversations, small things that are being said, Freya, when she's partied up with Kratos and learning what the disguised giant said to her about, making the Aesir pay. You know what I mean? There's small little story beats that connect back to the first game that you'll completely miss if you don't play the game more. So even
absolutely,
I feel it's kind of it was secondary, but Mimir's forget the Valkyrie that he's in love with, but her whole backstory I feel is something you could just miss, right? And you're
absolutely,
holy shit, there are
she
things
killed
there.
her own brother.
Yeah, a whole family died and all this other stuff. And it's wow, man, the way that they connected these two games together and then how that prophecy still falls into place. I think they were reading it wrong or is interpreted wrong. Right. So even though they were trying to beat fate and all this other thing, everything still happened the way it was supposed to happen. So it's a good game. It's a great game. I just feel it's one of those that you can come back to. I don't replay games that often. Some people go, "Oh, I play this once a year or something like that." I've only done that maybe with Grand Theft Auto 5. I've probably beaten that 3 or 4 times. Shadow of the Colossus, things that really stick with me. I'll go back and play. So this is one of those games where because God of War, the original one, 2018, God of War 2018, I haven't gone back to play. But this one is such a different experience on the PS5 and it's such a better experience all the way around. Hands down. This is something I can see going back to.
I after playing God of War Ragnarok, I decided to go back to God of War, the original one, just because there were so many connections from Ragnarok to God of War, the original one, that I needed to see it for myself. And the storyline is much better in God of War, the 2018, because of God of War Ragnarok and how they were able to tie in like even the smallest details, like the murals that were painted. It was. I thought it was very very particular, very unique. Now, granted, I tried to play God of War. I honestly find it a little bit more boring than God of War Ragnarok. I find that God of War Ragnarok was filled with emotion and filled with, I guess, a diversity in gameplay, locations, more character buildup. And the first one, God of War, obviously it's for a reason. It's just that Kratos has a hard time developing all the way up to the end when he starts changing. The first few hours are rough because it's just him being consistent, being this rough person, and that's fine. That's him. That's Kratos. Yeah. But I really enjoyed him just being proud of his son, and at the same time worrying about it, and at the same time trying to be a better father. It's all these complex things going on. It's like, oh my goodness, like it's like they make fun of God of War Ragnarok because it's a simulation of how to be a good father.
So, like, that's what I was about to say. Actually, right, was like you're watching a man go from being just the most toxic human being alive to being a loving, caring father by the end of it, right? So, I'm talking all the way back to the original God of War games. Kratos is a menace. He's toxic.
Yeah, he's not a good person.
He's not a good person, like, at all, right? Like, it's fun. It's fun to take part in that, right? To get, like, your toxic tendencies out vicariously through Kratos. But, like, the idea that this God grew up, right? He didn't stay, he didn't let his godhood completely go to his head after a certain point. He lost ones that he loved, and he caused the destruction of a people. And so he's there and he's looking at his family now. And, he had deep love for his wife. He has love for his son. And even though, like, there's one point where Mimir's talking to him, right? And he's like, you have to let the boy go his own path. Like, he was like, you don't, like, he asked him how he grew up. And he was like, basically said he grew up as a Spartan, regiment. And he's like, do you want that for your son? And Kratos doesn't say no. But that was his answer, that he doesn't want his son to grow up to be like him. He wants his son to have his own agency. So, like, him realizing that, and then having that conversation, even though he's walled off like a motherfucker, right? Kratos even starts to tell jokes in this game, but even though he's walled off, he still has conversations, and he's still willing to listen to other people talk to him. So, as fucking stoic and he seems like a giant brick wall, right? But he's taking everything in, and he's listening to the people around him, and he does have only one concern. Like, my concern is my son. I won't kill anybody if they don't try and kill him. And, like, Heimdall died because he tried to kill Atreus. Like, Heimdall got the business because he couldn't leave well enough alone. He said, "Hey, I'll let you live." And motherfucker's like, I'm going to kill your boy. And he's gone. So
he's gone. Yeah. He's gone now. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gone now. So, all right. So now that you had an wonderful experience with God of War, Ragnarok, and you're seeing all these Game of the Year's awards, how do you think it did in terms of Game of the Year? Because I know Elden Ring came out 2022 too. It was a good year for 2022 based on those two games. What do you feel are your thoughts now that you played God of War Ragnarok? Do you think that Elden Ring still deserves the Game of the Year, or do you think that God of War Ragnarok is the king of 2022?
So I was talking to somebody else about this actually, right? And I kind of agree with the Elden Ring being Game of the Year, and my reasoning for it is just the sense of exploration and discovery that I had with Elden Ring, right? So when I go back and I look at how, even though I had like this great experience with God of War, this is somewhere I've been before. These are characters that I know. These are characters that are growing, right? And when I was playing Elden Ring for that first time, like everywhere I went was something new, even though it felt familiar because it's based on that same Soulsborne formula. Everywhere I went was like something new. I found you found Noxtera, or the underground cities. You go to Caelid. You're going to all these different places, and then something says, "Hey, check the map," and then you zoom out on the map, and you realize there's all this other area to explore. And then, I went back and I played with friends. It's co-op as well. So I go back and I play with some friends and I'm helping them beat the game. And I wound up clearing through the game 3 times in technically my quote unquote first playthrough. So that game sucked me in more for longer. Right. So both games had me hands down. And I think every award that God of War got, it deserved. But God of War is a different thing than Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring is a better game. God of War is a better experience. Like, for that cinematic movie game type, what it is. You get what I'm saying? So I think every award that those 2 games won during the Game Awards were well deserved in their respects for that game.
Okay. All right. I've been trying to think about this one for a little bit. I mean, because I played both, but I had a totally different experience than you when it comes to Elden Ring. And I think it comes down to the experience of the player and whether that person had friends retroactively playing with them to enhance that experience. I didn't have anybody. I played it by myself. I got to level 130 something, mostly by myself. And thankfully, by the end of it, there were some compadres that were online that helped me with Milena, whatever her name is, and the last boss. But I would have never passed it without them. After that, I was like, I hate to say it, I was relieved to finish Elden Ring and put it past me.
I get it.
Like, I finished it. I passed it. Whereas, as God of War Ragnarok, what it left me was like, I want more. It's like, I want to know more about Kratos and Atreus' story after God of War Ragnarok. It left me wanting for more, and not only that, it was such a joy, like being with them throughout their or at least being retroactively with them throughout their journey. That I'm like, yeah, God of War Ragnarok for me at least was the game of the year. Like to bring out so much emotion in a game. It's a video game, right? And like you're for a lot of people, video games is like just like things for kids. It's like, no, like video games can be a new adaptation of entertainment and
so many people are
experiences.
learning that right now, right? With, and I don't want to take us away from God of War, but people are watching The Last of Us and they're like, this came from a video game? Like, yeah, like these stories and these stories that they've been telling, they've been deep stories for a long time. Now the production value, in recent years has finally gotten to that level where it can be a contender, a genuine contender against traditional TV and movies. But like deep stories have been told since, the Nintendo days where people were playing Final Fantasy.
Absolutely.
And all these different,
Chrono Trigger, Cross, Final Fantasy 7. It's like Knights of the Old Republic.
One of the first games
Metal
that got
Gear
me
Solid.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid PS1. But the first game that got me to question my worldview was Xenogears. After I played Final Fantasy 7, I was a Squaresoft fanboy. I played Xenogears, and this thing had me questioning religion and God and all this other stuff off their story and what these characters experience. So the idea, we've moved into the general populace being able to understand that video games can be fine art. I think, video games are art, but well refined art.
Yeah. So speaking of The Last of Us, and not to talk about Last of Us, but maintain with the Kratos thing. So now that The Last of Us had a wonderful success, or is having a wonderful success, and the success of Ragnarok itself, now people, or Amazon, I believe, is doing a show for God of War, and a lot of the subject is like, who's gonna play Kratos, and a lot of people have been naming stuff, naming the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy. I forgot his name.
Chris Pratt or
Batista.
Batista.
Yeah, Batista. And I mean, some people make a good point. It's like, why are we looking for a new God of War? Like, the God of War in front of us is Christopher Judge. Mm-hmm. And I thought about it, I think Christopher Judge would make a fantastic live action God of War. He already has the physique. He tall. Does. I mean, it's like maybe a little bit more workout. Yeah, absolutely. But man,
I don't know. Christopher Judge has a weird looking head to me. But it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't matter.
If they're going to talk the God of War 2018, so like he can have the beard, and that would.
Yeah, I mean that would be fine, but like I don't want to dive too much into like someone's aesthetics, right? But I like, he already is the voice, right? Not unless, and I don't know, I don't feel like if they don't hire him, if they don't bring him on, that he's not going to be great for it, right? And I'm not saying if they don't if they don't hire or bring him on that the show is going to fail, but like, he brought something to the character, not unless they're going to do something different, right? Like, if they do God of War, there's a lot that they can do, right? They could do the in-between from when he left Greece to where he gets to the Norse gods.
I think they're gonna go straight to 2018 and Ragnarok.
I mean,
which is fine. They're doing something similar to The Last of Us.
Yeah, I mean, which is completely fine, right? But like, my thing is for me personally, I know a lot of people, they kind of just want to see, their favorite things brought to the big screen. I personally, because we've experienced that in those games, seriously, if you cut it up, you can make a mini series out of the game footage and the cinematics that are in the game, right? Like, we can do like 4 episodes for God of War and another 4 episodes for Ragnarok, and you would have a mini series to play out for somebody. So I would want to see something different.
But Christopher Judge did. I mean, he did get the performance award for playing Kratos. And another thing is, like, you would like to see something different, but like most of the TV shows are made for people that
haven't seen it.
That are not gamer. Yeah, like The Last of Us. For me, The Last of Us, without saying any spoilers, I think it's a good show. Do I think it's like better than the game? I don't know. I personally don't think so. Like, I see a lot of things that I like, but the characters themselves, Ellie and Joel, are better portrayed in the game than they are in the live action series.
Yeah.
For example, Joel, he's from Texas, so he has a southern twang. Pablo Pascal, the guy that plays Joel in the series, does not have that accent. He sounds like the Mandalorian. He sounds like the Mandalorian because that's who he plays. I
don't know if you can see it right now. But I got Christopher Judge. I got it pulled up. I mean, the guy looks the part, right? The guy looks the part. He's already voiced the part. We already know he can convey that emotion. So, I mean, like, I don't think it would be a failure to bring him on. It's just, what direction are they trying to go? And are they trying to separate it from the game? If they do, I think that'd be a mistake. I think they should definitely not stray too far from the game itself. What the game is, they need to make sure that
it's in the spirit. So, like, I believe that John Campea in this show was comparing Sonic the movie with Sonic the video games, and he was saying that you can't put in Sonic the video game related to Sonic the movie. But someone else in the show, which I completely agree with, is it's obviously you can't mimic the video games because Sonic the video game barely has a story anyway. Mm-hmm. But you can capture the spirit, and by capturing the spirit of the game, then you can like
two very successful movies. You have two very successful movies now because they were able to capture what Sonic is, what you felt from the screen playing Sega, you know, the original Genesis, and that attitude of him tapping his toe. They were able to bring that onto the big screen and flesh it out and do something with it. My thing is that God of War has already been fleshed out, right? So how do we take that?
It's Last
how
of
much
Us.
How much liberty can you have with that?
Last of Us already has a story, so they use the story, and they're doing it to a good effect. They're changing minor things that they're kind of questionable, but for the most part, they're following the beat of the story, and I appreciate that. I respect that. God of War needs to do the same, make some changes, but the overall story needs to stay intact. Yeah. I don't know what happened to Halo in the Paramount series, but apparently Halo in the Paramount series got destroyed in terms of the story.
Okay, so I had to look it up, right? Because I watched the first episode. I don't know about you. I watched the first episode, and John 117 takes off his fucking helmet in the first episode, and you're like, yo, the fuck? And so immediately I compared it to The Mandalorian, right? You have this entire build-up where he is taking as he meets more people and him and these people bond, there are more situations where his helmet comes off, right? Like when he wants to go save very rare. And it's a big deal every time he does it. It's a big deal. But every time he does it, it feels earned. And so when he finally takes it off, and he takes it off in front of Grogu, and they have that father-son moment, you know, it feels well earned. So you get into Halo, and the opening scene of Halo is bad fucking ass. It feels like Halo, right? The Covenant come down. They are fucking the human shit up, and that is story accurate. Humans get fucked by Covenant that entire war, right? So Spartan comes in, whoops Covenant ass, right? And that is very fucking accurate, right? But by the end of the first episode, this chick is able to guilt trip Master Chief so hard that he takes off his helmet and he fucking basically goes AWOL and attacks the USNC. Now, I did go and I look at the writers, right? I looked at like the behind the scenes thing, and one of the writers was saying that this isn't the normal Halo canon. They have different canons that run simultaneously, right? For the books, the game, and they wanted to do a different one for the show. So it was these characters, but there are different events that lead to the same point, right? Dumb as fuck. It made no sense. I am very easy to please when it comes to entertainment type stuff, right? I don't judge too harshly, right? I don't judge too harshly. So I'm still like season 2 of The Witcher. I enjoyed episode 1 of Halo. Fucking hated it.
Yeah.
I don't see how someone sat in that room and said that was okay. There is no way. Like, you know how people were saying like the writers of The Witcher don't like the show. I feel like the little bit of time that I spent with Geralt and Witcher 3 and part of Witcher 2, I feel like they got, you know, who he is and who that world is. Things are different.
At least the Witcher is correct.
At least
his
Geralt,
persona.
Yeah, he's right. there is no like I feel like at some point in season 1 the helmet would have came off and whatever, right? But that right there, that was like giving U-Bowl a big budget. You know U-Bowl, the guy that made a shit ton of just horrible video game movies, right? Like it felt like they gave him a really big budget and just let him still write the story, so the story was shit. So like, no, I didn't finish the Halo. Yeah.
And see, like, and they got it. Like, they keep getting it wrong. It's like you can't do that to the fans. You can't just change canon completely and do that to the fans. The fans are the ones that are going to watch this, and like they're going to promote it. This is a good show, and like there's a certain extent like you can't please everything for the fans because the fans will destroy it. But the story for Halo is a good story. There is like. There are some changes that need to be made.
There's so much there.
But there's some, and the thing that bothers me is that it's like it's a universe, right? You didn't have to retell Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can go back or you can go forward. You know, you can go in between. What happens to other people apart from Master Chief? You know, but they fucking touch Master Chief. So if you're gonna touch Master Chief, you better tell a similar story than Halo 1, 2, and 3.
Like, I get the idea of telling a new story or a revised story, right? But there are beats that have to stay the same, right? There are certain things that kind of like you're just taking a name and doing something different with it at that point, right? So, like, you know, again, you go and you look at Master Chief, right? Who is he? What is he? Master Chief at that point in time would never do what he did at the end of episode 1, right? That's just, he is complete the mission at any fucking cost. You know what I mean? Like,
and supposedly he Master Chief died at the end of the series too.
I didn't watch it.
So like his body is dead. Cortana took over his body.
That is the dumbest shit.
It's like it's.
That has got to be the dumbest. I feel like we probably, and like, you know, like that's why I don't review games, right? Like I don't review games, I don't review movies or anything like that. It's solely because if I don't enjoy something, I'm not finishing it. There's no way you're not going to pay me to sit through something I don't enjoy. Like there's no way. Like this show is garbage. I'm not watching it anymore. And that's it. That's hands down. That's what it is. Just like, so even like, because I was noticing like people do episode by episode reviews. Like I've been seeing a lot of that for Last of Us, and it's like, man, I'd rather wait to give a review of the entire season than episode by episode, because you don't know where some things are going. You don't know how things are going to be structured, right? But I definitely can draw a fucking opinion very fucking quick over a character that I've spent 20 years with. You get what I'm saying? By the time I watched by the time I played Halo on the original Xbox in 2001.
Uncharted too.
Oh, Uncharted was bad.
Yeah.
And like
Uncharted,
it wasn't. Like, you know what? It could be whatever the fuck they want, because essentially it's Indiana Jones, right? But it was just boring. I fell asleep on it twice. I tried to watch that movie 3 times. 3 times I tried to watch that movie, and each time I was like, "It's just boring." It's there like nothing about this movie says "watch me." It just says we made this to pay dudes some money.
Sony's obsession with Tom Holland also kind of like was misplaced, because he is not a good Drake. He's not a good Drake. That's the truth. Like Nathan Drake, like taller, a little bit older too. I know that they were trying to go for a younger version, but like this guy, like let's just face it, Tom Holland's not going to grow. You know, he's gonna stay the same size. He's a
grown ass man.
26.
Yeah, he's a grown ass man.
26, 27. Yeah, so like there's not much they can do there. I was very disappointed in his casting. I already figured that it wasn't going to be a good movie, and then they decided to go and not like it. Like they could have enhanced the story, but what it was they took the best beats of each game and put it in the movie.
Yeah,
and it's like all right. So like it's not even helping with the canon of Uncharted. It is just its own canon now. And I hate that. It's like, you guys, like, you don't have to fucking mess with, with the canon. Do something separate that boasts the canon. So, like, that really frustrates me. They should have done that the same with Halo. What does it really good is Last of Us. So Last of Us is telling the same story with some minor changes, but they are adding some stuff that give more life to the world and makes Last of Us the game more interesting. Because a lot of times it's focused on Joel.
Yeah.
Right? Joel is the main character of The Last of Us. In this one, they have a little bit more freedom to explore other stories. And what it does is it doesn't deviate from the experience. It just gives it more of a living, breathing world, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
So, Uncharted. Apparently, Neil Druckmann, the director of The Last of Us and also in charge of the Naughty Dog or co-president or something like that, has stated that Uncharted will no longer be developed by Naughty Dog. It won't no longer be created. It's like they put a stop to it.
Good.
They're no longer making any Uncharted games.
Good.
And I don't know what to feel about that because here's the deal. So I move on from Nathan Drake. But if you play Lost Legacy and you play
I just
Chloe,
bought it.
You play Chloe and the other person, I forgot. I know it's Chloe Fraser and Nadine Ross. So Nadine Ross and Chloe Fraser, fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal characters.
How many fucking Lost Civilization treasures can we pack into a game? And how interesting can we make that shit? 5, 6, 7, 8 games. You get what I'm saying? Like Uncharted 4 was less about the discovery and more about the relationship. I will say I haven't played it yet. I just bought it. So I'm glad that you bought it for the PlayStation 5.
I
didn't. I bought it for PC.
Oh.
I bought it for because I'm going to play it on my Steam Deck. Yeah.
So like it's that loses the experience. I think
you don't have a Steam Deck. You don't know.
No, well, it helps a lot with. It helps a lot. No, I'm telling you, it helps a lot with the DualSense. The DualSense controller does give you another layer of additional experience that you feel like you're in that world.
Here's what I'm going to say. So I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima right now, and there are moments on PS5, yeah, and there are these moments where you'll be in combat, right, or in a duel, and you and the opponent will lock swords, and when you do, the sound of the swords will come from the controller.
Yeah,
and that's just the controller's rumbling and stuff like that. I do feel like that adds to experience, but I don't think it is like a deal breaker, right? I think it definitely adds to it. So like when I got the longbow and it's harder to pull back than the short bow, and you get what I'm saying? Like there are things that add to it, or like you're searching for an item and like there's the vibration on the controller is telling you what direction the item is in. There's little things that I've been noticing about it. It's amazing, right? Again, though, I don't think it's a deal breaker for it.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I did the testing. I finished Cyberpunk 2077 on Xbox Series X, and I finished it completely, 70-something hours. I am replaying it again for PS5. I am in
Dang.
my 16 hours, and I am already experiencing a way better. Well, I'm already having a way better experience on the PS5 because of the DualSense.
Awesome.
The writing of the cars, the weapon systems. It's like the differences in using a normal pistol. You feel the recoil, but then you put the silencer in, and it's a lot smoother.
Yeah,
And
the tech, like if you would have asked me like 5 years ago, what was something that would rock, the gaming experience that wasn't a game itself, I would never have told you load times and fucking a controller, rumble on a controller. That would not have been my guess. I wouldn't like I know I'm diverging a little bit, but the load times on this thing is fucking amazing, right? Like I've been gaming on PC since 2012, right? I've been gaming on PC for damn near 11 years. And while I've had fast load times for a very long time, I have not experienced anything like that. Where I say I fast travel from one side of the island and it opens up instantly. That shit is wild. That is wild to me. Because it makes it a better, it just makes it a better experience getting across, not having to ride. Like I can fast travel and not feel like I'm wasting a minute or two of my life. I should have just rode the fucking horse, right? It's just the PS5 is a great machine, man. I am loving the machine. Absolutely.
I am loving it too, but it goes back to Uncharted 4. Going full circle on Uncharted 4. I hated Uncharted 4 for the PS4. I loved Uncharted 4 for the PS5, and it
so you bought it again, or you did like a free
no? So
upgrade?
like since I already had the game, I only had to pay like $10.
Okay,
and like I played Lost Legacy again, and I played Uncharted 4 again. On the PS5, it looked beautiful. The 60 frames per second does make a great change, and
I think
the DualSense.
Go ahead.
And the DualSense was also fantastic. So when I'm having these experiences with Lost Legacy, and when you play, you'll notice like it overall. Like I'm glad that Nathan Drake's story is done. It needed to be done. Yeah. But I think Chloe Fraser and Nadine Ross had a lot to still tell. Like they could have been fantastic female characters. And instead they're like, no, we're doing something else. Like, bro, you already developed these characters and like let them grow further because Lost Legacy does a little bit.
Let me read this for you real quick. Experience haptic feedback and dynamic trigger effects designed for Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection by playing with the DualSense controller through a wired connection to your PC. So I'll be able to use it. I'll be able to use my controller on PC if I install on this.
Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be on the PS5. I can just use the controller. So
in any case, in any case, point is that like Uncharted 4, I wish that they would have done. They would have continued with the series, and who knows? Maybe down the line they will. Maybe I'm 90, when I'm dying in bed.
So but think about it though. Uncharted, the original released. Long time ago. That's all the studio has really been doing for a very long time. So I could see them being like, okay, we're not going to do this.
Uncharted Last of Us. And I'm a little bit upset because they're doing the Last of Us multiplayer. And I'm like, ugh. It's like, I know that they're aiming.
That's a bygone. That's from a bygone era where every game had to have multiplayer, and so they tacked it on. And like I know for me, there would be games that would have multiplayer. Like Far Cry 3 had multiplayer. I never played it, but apparently that was a thing that people tried to play. So, like, yeah, it's definitely not needed. I don't see why they keep doing it. They're trying to rake in that money. That's why you keep getting remakes and the TV show and all this other stuff. But I don't think it's worth it.
I think it's just too bad because they could either be making another game completely, a new franchise IP, or they can make part 3. I think they should make Last of Us Part 3 and tie a bow on it. Done. A trilogy and be done with it.
Yeah, I mean,
I do hate
they left it kind of open for another game. They did at the end of the second one. So
yeah, they could have wrapped it up with part 1 and that's it.
That's
but
how
they decided to come
I
up
felt
with
it should have been. Yeah, I don't think they're
and
just from a story perspective, I don't think there should have been a second one because of how that ended. Right, like if I'm thinking about like a movie per se, like if I'm looking at this game like I do movies, some movies don't need a sequel. Some movies are just good the way they are, and they don't need a sequel. So Last of Us as a game, as a story.
And then part 2.
Yeah.
And then Neil Druckmann says, we're happy with how part 2 ended. I'm like, part 1 was a success in ending. Part 2 was very open.
Yeah,
it was an open ending. You know, like, what? Okay, that's it?
Yeah.
You know, like, what I don't know. I think the conclusion, like, I don't know if you noticed, but at the end of The Last of Us Part 2, there is somewhat of a nice ending in the fact that you know that Abby and the other kid, forgot his name, they had made it to the island in California. I think it was Coronado.
So I didn't play
or something like
that. I watched a lot of the gameplay on Twitch. So like, I know I'm missing here and there.
So like they're like after the credits roll and all that stuff, and you're back in the menu screen. Mm-hmm. Like the menu screen at the background shows a boat that has landed on the sand, and then in the background you see the island of Coronado, there is an assumption to be made that they actually, like Abby and the kid that she was taking care of, made it safely to the island. So in a way it was nice, but you never know what happened to Ellie. And Ellie seems like the central figure in part 1 and part 2, and they left it very open for her.
Yeah.
Anyway, so switching topics a little bit, now that we talked a little bit about The Last of Us, there is a game that's coming out now that I wanted to talk to you about. I know that you're not that interested in it, but it's making waves. It's exactly where I'm coming from. It's making waves, and it not all of them good. And it's the Hogwarts Legacy by Avalanche Studios. So apparently, some reviewers have had early access to it, and overall, they had good things to say about it, but because it is coming out and is apparently number 1 on PlayStation and Steam, and it hasn't even come out yet, people that are opposed to J.K. Rowling are like basically creating an uproar on Twitter and social media, stating that they don't want other people to support this game. Mm. And I thought it would be something for us to talk about it, like in that sense. Like
it's number 2 on Steam right now. It's headed out by Dead Space. Yeah, it's headed out by Dead Space. Yeah, but
Dead
go
Space
ahead, man.
Just came out too.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Tell me your tell me your thoughts on the current discourse going around this Hogwarts Legacy.
So I had to, so this is what I did. I had to search J.K. Rowling's comments in order to really judge for myself whether those comments were to the extent that the public is doing, like it's saying. And after reading J.K. Rowling's comments, some of them are interesting, yeah, but not to the point where I'm like, wow, she is blatantly hating on transgender people or homophobic, like she's homophobic or anti-Semitic. And
I mean,
those
Go
three
ahead,
things.
go ahead,
So
go ahead.
they people have said that she's anti-Semitic, homophobic, and transphobic, right? So the reason why I don't understand why she's she's homophobic. I know that Dumbledore is gay. I think the fact that they got upset at her because Dumbledore wasn't explicitly gay in the books.
It doesn't matter.
So
Like I think
it was alluded.
I think like
It was alluded, but
yeah, it's not even alluded.
It was
like she just came back and was like, yeah, he's gay. Like
no.
yeah,
So like in the books, you already suspected it, but it wasn't like straight up like, hey, he is gay.
It affects the story
But, like,
in no kind of way, and it feels like it feels like reverse, like it feels like retroactive pandering. You know what I mean? Like there's no reason for Dumbledore to be gay in any sense, and it seems like she just kind of did that to do it. Which whatever, it's her property. I'm not.
No, I get, Chris. It was already in the book. Like
okay.
It was already in the book, and it was alluded to. So like this is the problem. Have you read the books?
My only experience with Harry Potter are the movies, and I didn't finish. I got to Deathly Hallows Part 1, and I haven't seen the second one. So yeah.
In any case, so like I'm point is that I'm reading this. I don't think it justifies the vitriol that J.K. Rowling has been receiving by people, and I don't think it is enough for people to say like I will not get this game, or I don't want to be a part of this world that she has created anymore. So, and I think it, in any case, the fact that some like IGN, I got upset at IGN the other day because IGN had to pander. It's like we understand if you don't get this game, based on what J.K. Rowling has said. I'm like, what has J.K. Rowling really said that has been so?
I think it's really important to remember something, right? Is that it's not for me to judge how upset someone should be over something someone else has done, right? Like if we're in the office and I feel like someone has slighted me in some way, right? It's my responsibility to judge how angry I should be, right? So like the idea, like I read the comments too. To me, they don't seem that bad, but I'm not trans. I'm not gay, I'm not Jewish. Right. So like to me, I don't know how egregious these things are. Again, the only experience I have with this property is through the movies. And I watched the movies maybe one time and like I was sick when I was watching it. So it was never a I'm really into this world or anything like that. I know like the depiction of what are they, goblins or something, are like stereotypical. They're stereotypes of Jewish people. Right. I know that shit's pretty fucking.
But here, yeah, that's a fucking connection because I remember The Witcher had goblins and they were also in charge of banks. So like, I don't know what to fucking tell you.
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, like it tells you the same thing. It tells you the same thing, right? Like people make some choices that are very fucking egregious. But like just when you kind of break it down. Again, it's like my disinterest. My disinterest in the game is just I'm not interested in that property. Now,
I know,
yeah.
I know, but like, is it not like the thing that bothers me is like the amount of hatred that has come out against this game, and like the people that actually love the franchise for what it is. I feel like if you love it, then you're like, oh my goodness, you're in support of everything that J.K. Rowling stands for. It's like, no, not really.
So
like,
it's really
can give
weird, right?
Of our own personal opinions.
It's really weird. So I kind of liking it to Kanye, right? And like Kanye was a real big part of my college experience, right? College dropout, late registration. No, those first three his first three albums dropped while I was in school, and so like that era is a really big part of like my experience of college, and I still listen to those albums, right? But I don't fuck with modern Kanye, right? I don't agree with anything he said. I don't agree with any of his views. I'm leery of him because of like the quasi cult in school that he started up. You know what I mean? I'm very critical of who he is now, right? That doesn't mean that I cannot go back and I can't enjoy the work that he's produced, but I do refuse to give him any more of my money, right? I refuse to give Kanye West any more of my money. And so it's kind of the same thing for people that enjoy.
Kanye is interesting though.
I
and
mean,
also like Kanye is it's kind of hard to compare Kanye with JK. I mean,
no, it's
Kanye
not.
has said some pretty egregious shit.
It's not though.
Oh yeah,
because what I'm saying is he says some egregious shit, right? And he says shit that personally I like. When he said slavery was a choice, that shit insults the fuck out of me, right? So saying slavery was a choice insults the hell out of me. So, but I could see being a white fan of Kanye hearing that and not being insulted by it, right? And so they are looking at me, well, why are you upset by that comment, right? And so it's the same thing for J.K. Rowling. She says the stuff against trans people, and it's not, like I said, it's not for me to be like, well, why are you guys so upset? You get what I'm saying? I'm not trans. I cannot be angry for you, and I can't tell you how angry to get. All I know is that she said something to upset you. Again, I'm not saying like I'm not buying the game because she said that stuff against her. I just don't care about Harry Potter. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and tell people how angry they should be over comments that she has made and actions that she has made and money that she's donated to certain things. Right. So again, you were a large part of my childhood or my formative years of me becoming an adult. And I really love this property, but you're a shitty person. And so I've made that decision on like, this is my equivalent, right? I've made that decision not to give Kanye any more of my money. I don't stream his music. I'm like, man, I hope I can go back and find the original disc. You know what I mean?
So good points. But have you been actively engaged in, would you be actively engaged in allowing other people not to enjoy his music? His later music.
So, it's people's choice, right? And like, I wouldn't be like, you shouldn't listen to that, right? Again, it's none of my fucking business, right? What you listen to. But if you're like, man, that new Kanye is hot, like after he said, he loves Hitler, right? To be like that new record he dropped is hot. I'm looking at you sideways. I'm not really fucking with you at that point.
And that's the problem with Kanye. Kanye has said some fucking pretty ridiculous shit, man.
It doesn't matter how good to me, it doesn't matter how good the music sounds at that point, right? I don't care how good the beat is at that point.
I will not support you.
I'm not supporting you, right? So, again, I think the naivety of the people that are upset and saying like you shouldn't enjoy this is them thinking that people are going to listen to them and not enjoy it. You get what I'm saying? Like, as fucked up as they might see this, like buying this game is going to be, like people are still going to buy it. People are still going to enjoy it. Like I said, some people have deep connections to this property. They read those books. It lit up their childhood. It was a bright spot in their childhood, and they're not going to deny themselves that for you. And it sucks, but that's the way it is. They're not going to deny themselves for you. You don't matter to them. They're not going to sit there and be like, hey, I'm not going to enjoy Harry Potter because she said something mean about trans people. I don't know any trans people, right? This doesn't affect me. So, I mean, that's what this boils down to. That's the naivety of that group of people basically saying you shouldn't play Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah. No, and you make fantastic points. And you're absolutely right. And so, like, it's one of those things that bother me a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially, I think that the thing that bothered me the most, it would not necessarily what JK has said, but more like how people have reacted towards her. threaten her with violence and threaten other people with violence for trying to play this game or reading these books, and it's like, so you're no better than them.
Yeah, it's always weird, right? Like,
make the comment.
It's always weird because death threats come for like the silliest thing, right? Like, if you think she's a piece of shit, whatever, right? But like,
don't support it.
Yeah, right? Don't support it. And like if you have a platform, I think that's important too. I think Giant Bomb a while back said they won't be covering the game, and so they took that stance. And it's just I got to go back and look. I think they have, but there are some outlets that are like, I'm just not covering the game. And that's it. Plain and simple, right? I'm pretty sure Jim Sterling's one of them, right? That like, they're like, I'm not going to cover it. I don't agree with what she says. I don't want to put money into her pocket. We don't want to provide any press to it. More power to anybody that does. Fuck it. And that's it.
When she dies, the Harry Potter franchise will bloom again. Like, the fact is, Tolkien might have been a racist. But people are fucking loving Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, well, like
look at Disney.
Tolkien was really good.
Disney. He was anti-Semitic.
I mean, Tolkien was able to, like, it's veiled, right? Like the Uruks and the Orcs, I think that's what they're called or whatever. Like, they're the only dark-skinned people in that entire thing, right? But like, and like, again, I've never read the books. I've only read the movies, so I only can parse out what I've seen and what I've interacted with. But you like, that shit's pretty fucking clear, right? And so you're like, huh? Mm-hmm. But okay, whatever, right? Like, you can still enjoy it because it's not blatantly like this thing in your face, and you don't have to associate with it because you're not like that, right? But like, when you see like kind of the depiction of, again, are they what are they? Are they goblins in Harry Potter? Like the ones that control the bank,
I believe. I don't know.
Yeah, so like, but they're using some pretty blatant anti-Semitic tropes that constantly come up, and I think what's really
so that bothers me because in the fantasy realms, like even in Witcher 3, you're interacting with goblins that are owners of banks, and like, they are very good with money.
But again, the hook nose, the greediness, the like how they pretend of being greedy and rude, and like, it's more than just being the owner of the bank, but it's how they portray the characters themselves, right?
I feel sad because I would have never made that connection until somebody would have told me. Mm. It's like, look, they're portrayed. So
don't feel sad.
I didn't see Jewish people with big noses. I didn't see Jewish people with fucking like being greedy. And then like, all of a sudden they're talking about that.
Okay, here. How about this, right? Whoa. So I grew up in the South. I'm from South Carolina, right? I'm from Aiken County, right around Augusta area, right? Okay, so I used to see the blackface Sambo characters in people's yards, right? They would be completely black, right? And like, they would have the red lips. Okay, I know they're supposed to, like, the only other time I saw that would be in Dragon Ball, right? And so, I haven't had that talk really with my Mr. Popo. Mr. Popo is problematic as fuck, right? But so I wouldn't, I'm young. I haven't had that conversation with anybody yet. I'm seeing this shit. I'm just thinking Mr. Popo, Dragon Ball. And then you learn about it. And you're like, man, that's fucked up. Why would people have something like that in their yard? Right? And it's like, to them, it's a novelty, right? From a bygone era. For me, again, it's insulting as fuck once you learn what it is. But what I would say is, if it's something that you find problematic now, don't feel bad that you didn't understand it, because nobody had that conversation with you, right? And it's information that either A, somebody trusted you enough to tell you, or B, you went out and found out on your own. So there's growth happening there, either because someone trusts you or you had some personal growth. Like, let me find out some more about this. So it's not anything that you shouldn't feel bad. about not making that connection. Because honestly, until I was an adult and I actually met Jewish people, I thought Jewish people were just white people. Like, I'll be honest with you, I had no interaction with Jewish people growing up, so I just thought Jewish people were white people until
me too.
Until I actually met some Jewish people, and like I understood and got read up on and stuff like that of some of their history. And so like now I get it. Now I know how bad that shit is. So it's like, don't feel bad about that, man. Just learn and grow.
I am just confused with everything, honestly, with everything that's going on with J.K. Rowling. It's like even I remember like the Cursed Child's the show that she made, the screenplay that she made. Apparently, they chose Hermione to be black in the show. And when asked about what did they think about, what does she think about Hermione being black, and she's like, like I never actually gave a full description of her. That's her answer. So like Hermione can be any color, really.
Yeah.
And people made an opera on that too, because apparently on another book they put in like you could see her white face behind a tree, and they were thinking that she was doing some type of like gender or not race appropriation or something like that.
Yeah, race swapping or whatever.
It's annoying that they like all the like how focused in anything that she does, and anything like it's looked at like, is there a message behind this?
Yeah,
and it gets tiresome.
What I think it really is, man. And there's a couple of things that work, right? So like you have people that it's kind of their job to, like, if you're an influencer and this is the kind of stuff that your brand is built on, right? It's your job at this point to like follow this shit, right? And to be that person that picks out everything J.K. Rowling does wrong. It's your fucking job to go and do that. Now, I won't say if it's manufactured outrage or not. That is not my decision to make. But some things you just don't have to be fucking upset about, right? I know. I personally am not that invested into any of this, but I go back to saying it's not my place to tell people how angry they should get about something, right? And the idea that I know she's problematic for a lot of people in the gaming space that identify as trans or queer, they're part of the LGBTQIA, it's this whole thing. If you're Jewish and you have a problem with how she depicts that, that's for you to be upset. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't, I don't like the property enough to be upset about it. Like, I listen to people's takes on it. I'm like, that's interesting. And I keep scrolling.
I think no, you're right. And I think what really got me was, the IGN segment. They were previewing the game and they had to make a comment by the end of it. Like, if you feel like we understand if you feel like you don't want to buy the game. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why make that comment? I don't know.
I mean, because it's understanding your reach and who part of your audience is, right? It's understanding people that people are have more going on than the video games that they're interested in. So if I preface this by saying hey man, trigger warning on, sexual harassment and assault, that's, there are people that are bothered by stuff like that. So I get it. I personally, should they have said it? I think it was their call to make. I think they made the right call probably. But I can see being annoyed by it, because especially if all your feeds on your social media are that's coming up every few things. Every time you scroll, you see somebody else's take and somebody else, because that's the way the algorithm works, right? If someone engages with that, it's just going to feed it more to you more and more. So like if you're like, yeah, I shit you don't like, don't engage with. Like whole full sell. Just if you don't like it, don't engage with it. That way you don't get an overabundance of that content, because there are millions of people on these apps, and everybody feels like they have to put their take out there. So good or bad, people will put their take out there. You don't have to listen to it, man.
All right. Good point. I definitely I agree with you. I just I think the IGN really got to me, but after you explain it, it makes sense, and I'm like, you know what? I do understand other people. I don't understand the vitriol that comes out of it, but I do understand why other people shouldn't support it. And I think in that respect, you know, like I understand it. It's like you said with Kanye.
So
yeah, it's like you said with Kanye.
This game though, right? So I saw that their character creator really does black hair really, really well. And this would be the fucking game to do that, right? This problematic ass game will get black people hair creation down to a fucking T, right? And this game be about, you know, pure bloods versus muggles and fighting off the evil goblins, right? Would get black hair correct. I'm like, come on, man. Like every other like Miyazaki and From Software, all you get is like an afro or a bald head, right? You can't even get a fade, right? You can't even get a fucking fade. And like, you can make off the wall fucking characters, but no, we can't focus on doing that. We have to add extra tits to this boss, right? No. It has to be fucking Harry Potter or Hogwarts Legacy. It had to be this problematic ass fucking game, and like, come on, man.
The people developing the game knew of the controversy of the game itself, so they wanted to make sure that the game was as inclusive as possible. So when you say that they had the hair right, I'm like, oh shit, they really did try hard then, because they're I don't know, like they've been worried about this for a while. Like Warner Brothers has been worried about coming out with this game for a while.
It sucks to be a fan. It sucks to be the fan of a property, and the creator of that property, you know, people view it like if, you know, you view it as a piece of shit. You know what I mean? It sucks to like really enjoy something. Like I said, to have something that's really big from your childhood kind of ruined by the person who created it. It just sucks. Imagine if Stan Lee just beat women. Imagine if like after he died, like 200 women came out and they were just like, yeah, he used to shackle us up in the basement and beat the shit out of us, right? That would suck. It would suck.
Yeah.
They wouldn't stop.
What would happen to...
They wouldn't stop it. They wouldn't stop Marvel. They wouldn't stop Marvel movies, man. That shit is not... That's too much money. But they'd be like, hey, Marvel is bigger. Marvel is bigger than Stans. We're built by the fans. We love you guys. And like, that's how I kind of see this. Because Harry Potter is huge, man. It's too big of a property. They can't let it die. They know it'll make money.
I hate to say this, but Walt Disney is also a man who was controversial.
Yeah.
And
not controversial for the time. Well, he's not controversial for the time. The powers that be, he was very in line with the powers that be, right? Like, there were multiple people in the country that didn't like Jewish people, multiple people in powerful positions in the country during those times that didn't like Jewish people. So any and everything he did, like even like the ride that the Song of the South ride that they're changing into a Princess and the Frog ride now. It used to be the Song of the South, or it is the Song of the South, and it won't be soon. And that movie's racist as shit, right? But you know, again, you know, a bunch of people that feel like, you know, they shouldn't be taking this ride away lined up to go write it. So you might be hearing a lot of talk right now about people not supporting Harry Potter and you shouldn't support it, this and that, whatever. But it's going to sell, and it's going to sell well. And like it or not, that's just the state of affairs. People identify with properties, whether you have to pay to be a part of that or not. People identify with it. It's a part of who they are, and they're going to protect that shit. That's just how it is.
Good point, man. Thank you for the conversation. I've learned a lot, and it's really nice. You're a pretty deep person, and you have a lot to say. I'm more emotional, and like you're the calmer person in the conversation. So like I always appreciate what you have to say, and I listen. So good feedback, and it's made me think a lot of my own opinions and my own biases when it comes to the Harry Potter franchise.
The biggest thing
I could care less. Could care less about J.K. Rowling.
Yeah,
I care more about Harry Potter and the franchise.
I think the biggest thing, man, is always being willing to listen. And so, from my point of view, like when I'm having conversations and when I'm talking to people and stuff like that, and people will voice their opinions, right? And if it's something you don't agree with and you give pushback, is that person, even if they don't agree with you, is that person receptive of what you're saying, right? So you're definitely one of those people, and you're definitely one of the reasons there is the reasons why we've talked as long as we have, right? That there is a reason. Like I could be dead wrong about something. You will correct me, right? And that's something like we all need, right? Someone being willing to listen to you and let you know when you're wrong. You've done it for me, I've done it for you, and I have other people in my life that do the same, right? And that's an important thing. Is like not everything that comes out of my mouth is going to be correct. I've had bad takes. I will have bad takes, and it's just me being willing to look in and be like, hey, like, yeah, I'm wrong, right? Just like I had a epiphany while playing Ghost of Tsushima that I'll share after. How many more points do you have any more talking points you want to hit?
No, I think we have covered everything.
Okay.
We have covered everything that we needed to cover today.
So I've recently gone on a gaming buying spree, right? I've been playing more games than I usually do. So, God of War, I've been playing Cult of the Lamb, which if you haven't played is very fun. If you can get past like being a cult and, leading people to a demon, or animals, very cute animals. Ghost of Tsushima, but Ghost of Tsushima has made me realize that gaming is woke now. Gaming is woke now. I was wrong. Gaming is woke now, and it's not even pandering. You know what I mean? One of the missions in the game with Lady Masako, and you're finding revenge for her family, right? Her family, the Adachi family, has been massacred, and you're doing the missions for her. And one of the women who stole family heirlooms is actually her lover. And Masako, like, she has been murdering. This woman has been just murdering people. But when it comes to her, she's soft, and you're trying to figure out why. And it's because she loves the woman, right? And you're like, whoa, shit. I didn't. Even Jen sitting there, he's like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. And I'm sitting in my seat. I didn't see that coming either. Like, so, okay, cool. And then later into the game, there's a guy, like you're on Icky Island. I think it's on Icky, right? And you're doing a side mission, and they left a letter out they would leave letters out for someone to be killed, right? So apparently this dude has been leaving the camp at night, and they're like, well, they left a letter out for him to die because they don't know what he's doing at night, right? So it turns out he's going to his lover's grave to mourn. but his lover was married to a woman and their kid, and his kid is in the camp, and he doesn't go during the daytime. And he can't tell them because it will hurt their feelings, right? So he's hiding it, and they're wanting him dead. They would want him dead for that, but like they want him dead because they don't know what he's doing. But it's, you know, it's showing how strict that culture was at the time, and people living within that and still being themselves and having to navigate that, right? Even though it's fantasy to a degree, it's embellished and stuff like that, but it's showing some nuance to like these real situations that people, of course, led. And then, of course, you know, you get into like God of War, and God of War is woke again. Like Kratos becomes a good dad. He is positive masculinity to a T. He is strong. He's protective. He's understanding, right? Like all these games, like I've Red Dead, Arthur Morgan, outside of the murderous rampages that you have to go on, is a positive masculine man if you're playing an honorable version of him, right? Like Arthur Morgan is this positive male, positive masculinity, and it's interesting to see. I think at that point, I'm playing games like Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, stuff that doesn't have like a real big story. But then I started thinking about Elden Ring, right? And a trans character plays a major role in the story. Right now, it does have, God, right? Yeah, America and Ragnarök.
America,
and you're like, huh? Right? So, you like gaming is woke now. I think gaming is tackling some interesting things, some interesting subjects. And when you're not doing it to check a block, like I think we talked about this before.
Exactly.
When you're not doing it to check a block,
exactly.
we need 2 black females, and we need to make one of them gay, right? Like when you have a real situation where someone felt spurned by a lover, and so they betrayed the family, and like it's this whole dynamic, and like you watch this woman that's been just covered and exuding rage, and the second she finds out that there was this person, like a person that she loves, was a part of that, and like you just watch that fall away, and there's just sadness, like that's big, man. That's really fucking big. I mean, like I said, you know, I'm here for it. Gaming's woke. I mean, if you're gonna be mad about it, be mad. It's there. It's there. It's there more than it's ever been.
They tried to make such a big deal about God of War being woke. And like,
yeah, I don't think they had good arguments.
By definition, it is. But
I don't think their examples were, because Angerboda being in the thing, because you're talking about 9 realms, 9 different fucking forms of reality. Oh God, there's just black characters. That's not woke. That's just
no. And the thing is, like, if you go back to God of War, which is perfect, this is fucking perfect. God of War, the giants came from other places too. They were painters, artists, intellectuals that came from other worlds into these realms to be a part of the 9 realms. They were at first a part of the 9 realms. So like it makes sense to have a diversity of people in the giants.
I think
so. I thought that was really cool.
When people say like, okay, this is based off of this people's culture and stuff like that, they forget that humans don't sit still. They forget that the human story is a collaborative thing with all peoples having a part in it. Area might be majority one race or another, but there's always like this groups of people that travel, people intermingle, people learn from each other constantly. So like, if you look it up, I forgot what year it was, but there are mosques in Norway and Finland that are old, they're centuries old, and there are evidence of just like trade and the movement of knowledge throughout the ancient world is something that happened. We know it happened, right? So this idea that, well, there weren't no black people in Europe because that's where white people are. That's dumb. It's dumb because people move around, right? So it's just you get better. I feel like taking this approach, like what they did with God of War, Ragnarok, gave a way better story, right? By including these different things, right? The giants seem the giants themselves are super diverse, right? Like they're small, they're big, they're medium sized. They do all these different things, like you said, and they come from all these different places, right? And they're the ones that immigrated into this overarching world, right? And so it makes, like, without the giants in this story, what story do you have? They're an integral part, right? And so making the diverse group diverse makes sense, but I digress.
No, you're on point. That's when I saw that there is a toxic culture going around that attacks anything and everything, no matter how good the story and the diversity is conveyed. And it brought about that they're just angry at everything. They just want
it's like
one race.
I don't want to dive too deep into that, right? But it comes down to like power and control. And I feel like there's a group of people out there that either want to gain power or maintain power, and they can recruit through a medium like video games. And that's been going on for a very long time, right? Since games moved online and the first dude in the Xbox Live lobby dropped the N-word, right? Like this stuff has been, on in gaming online space.
I think people are going to have a harder time making that argument as writers and video and directors, producers find new ways to bring in diversity without feeling forced.
Well, I mean,
and
so like
I think God of War Ragnarok does a really good job at that.
There's this thing, right?
I didn't have any argument.
There's a take where people say, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with diversity as long as it makes sense," right? And that's a bad take for a couple of reasons, right? And that one, people don't have to make sense to exist. You know what I mean? It also makes it seem like the only group of people that make sense are white people. You get what I'm saying? Like if I have a story and then, oh yeah, we didn't talk about, I wanted to touch on Forspoken real quick because too bad. But,
what happened with Forspoken?
Oh, it's a bad game. It's just a bad game. Unfortunate because it's the first real big AAA game to have a black female lead, and she's insufferable. The game's insufferable. Gameplay is boring. Like I've watched several reviews, and I'm like that. I was going to just drop money on it but I don't want to waste. It's $70 too. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that it's a bad game. Because this is your
listen. Yeah. I agree with you. Like it's that argument that like as long as it makes sense to the story. No, it's not. It does. That's the wrong way of putting it. But sometimes directors, producers, and writers blatantly do stuff that make no sense to the story because they just want to check the block. And you and me were talking about this. Ubisoft is notorious for that. It is notorious for just checking the block. Multiple times I've said, instead of fucking doing a male-female like choose your own character.
Pick
just choose a fucking female character.
Just do it. And like, cause like
just fucking female character and base the story around.
So here's the thing, right? I didn't play Odyssey, and I'm not playing Valhalla. They're just too big. They're too big of games. I don't want to. I played Origins. I got it, right? Origins is great, by the way. But from my understanding,
it is.
The female character for Odyssey is better than the male character. They're saying, like, people have said she's voiced better. She's written better.
The female character is canon, right? Now, like, after I fucking finished the story as Alexios, then they fucking tell me, and that's the thing that follows me. I finished the story as Alexios. Oh, by the way, Cassandra is the one that's canon. I'm like, fuck me. And then Valhalla is the same shit. It's Eivor, the female character, that is the canon character. So I've been playing opposite characters, and that drives me crazy. Like, guys, if that was the case, then you should have just fucking went with the female character in the first place. And instead of doing the story where, like, you're playing as Alexios, but there's some story beats that seem like it's more towards a female character, or vice versa. It's like that. It just feels wrong to the story. So that's why the as long as it's done right. So pick a fucking female character. I remember a long time ago in one of my first podcasts, you and I were talking about it, and I said that I would like to see like how, like in those times, how people react to a strong female lead. And then I'm like, after you and me spoke about it and you made your point, it was like, nobody really wants to see that. It's like, you're absolutely right. But at the same time, I do want to see a female story-driven game that is female-led during those times. Yeah. Regardless of whether it's like fiction or not, or mostly fiction or not, I do want that focus. I mean, freaking, let me tell you, God of War Ragnarok, the two female strong leads there, which was Freya, fantastic. Yeah. I would fucking play a game from her, and then the daughter of Thor. Oh, that was another one that was really cool.
Yeah, Thrud, I think her name is.
Like yeah, exactly. And then like then we have Uncharted with Chloe and Nadine. Like those are strong.
I just want to throw that out there that Anger Boda was strong as well, but just like not in a physical sense, right? I think they were able to convey strength in a way that wasn't in a physical sense, like
violence.
Freya is strong in her will, in like her determination to get revenge. Thrud is physically strong, right? Anger Boda is strong in like being able to like put herself to the side and do what's best for other people. Right. And you see that, like, even though she wants her own story, she wants her own story to be told. She doesn't want to live her whole life depicted through prophecy and her usefulness to be judged by the ending of her story. She still puts other people ahead of her and like the spirits of the giants and all that.
I didn't. So mind you, I didn't mention Anger Boda because honestly, Anger Boda comes out in key features, but you spend most of the time with Freya.
Yeah, you do. You spend a lot of time with
Atreus. You spend most of. Yeah. So those two characters. In fact, I knew from lore that Anger Boda and Atreus and Loki are the ones that are going to have that relationship. But for a minute there, I'm like, Thrud and Atreus would have been nice. Opposite families.
Such a cute couple. Look at you guys. Going on little adventures together. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was cute. The ending. I thought like the whole game was perfect for me. Like I enjoyed it from the beginning to end.
Yeah, man.
So anyway, I think that covers it, man. We've been talking now for
hour and a half.
An hour and 30 minutes. It's on. It's time to cut it. But I appreciate the talk. I appreciate the learning experiences. You make a lot of good points, and as always, like we talk about video games, but we also talk about like how video games apply to overall life, how life affects video games, how politics affect video games, and what we can learn about the video game industry and just playing video games. We learn a lot.
Yeah.
We learn a lot about life. We grew up with games. So some of those games you can say that raised us. So, it's a good experience overall, and we'll continue doing this. This is a love letter to video games.
This is a big part of who we are.
Anyway,
and we're just sharing that with everybody. So thank you all for listening. If you made it this far, go ahead and subscribe, hit a like, or whatever you have to do on that streaming platform, and we'll catch y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.